Whether it was,
but what I want to understand, what I want people to understand is how you expect teams to be good, how you expect quarterbacks to be good if you don't put good talent around them though. Like that's exactly what I don't fucking understand. Why people keep calling him a system QB? Like, what do you want him to do? What do you want him to do? Not throw to his superstar players, bro? Like, come on now. Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got, is Brock Purdy just a system quarterback? In my opinion, bro, I see where some people are coming from, but I also don't see as well, because he has made it to a Super Bowl. Like in both seasons that he started, you know what I'm saying, they've made it to the playoffs. They could have made it to the Super Bowl if he wouldn't have gotten hurt against the Eagles. So he could be a Super Bowl champ right now if he, you know what I'm saying, didn't get injured. But last year they made the Super Bowl and shit like that. But people are saying just because he's in Kyle Shanahan's offense that's just, you know what I'm saying, automatically makes you great. Some of that is true, because take Jimmy G, for instance, with him making the Super Bowl with the Niners, but after that, he didn't go back to the Super Bowl. So I feel like Purdy might be the difference between a system quarterback like Jimmy G per se to being an elite quarterback. I think Purdy's elite. I really do. But sometimes, you know what I'm saying, he makes boneheaded decisions, and the arm strength is definitely a big factor of why people are calling him a system QB as well, because he doesn't have the greatest arm strength in the world, but you know what I'm saying, he's still decent. But let's go ahead and check out this video right quick.
Calling someone a system quarterback might be one of the best ways to discount their achievements.
Yeah,
it can work in just about every situation.
I mean, because what other quarterback has, you know what I'm saying, made the playoffs in the Super Bowl as a 7th round pick, the last pick in the draft, bro? No other QB has done that other than Brock Purdy, bro. Like, you got to give him his props, because he was not supposed to be in this type of situation right here. Let's keep it a buck.
Every quarterback lives within an offensive system or scheme, and until that guy is forced to play on a different team with a different group of guys,
and that's the thing, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think after this season he's going to get paid,
system QB label.
And you know what I'm saying, they're going to lock him up for life.
Completion rate, over 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, and led the league in passer rating. On paper, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And yet, PFF ranked him as the 13th best player at the position in a tier called the melting pot of starters.
Now that's kind of crazy, bro. I honestly think he is a top 10 quarterback. Would I put him in front of Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert? No, I wouldn't. But I would possibly put him, you know what I'm saying, a little bit after that. Like, I'll probably put him right after Justin Herbert, in my opinion. I think he's better than Jalen Hurts for sure. But I don't think he is a top 5 quarterback just yet in the NFL.
It was a slightly hot take for the quarterback that played in last year's Super Bowl, starting off the blurb by saying they're fairly comfortable with where they placed him. But I also get it. The Niners have been loaded with talent the past couple of years, and this is just my bias, Purdy doesn't necessarily look like a top-of-the-line QB or have the biggest arm. But there are aspects of his game that are undeniable, like his fantastic sense of anticipation, especially when throwing to the middle. Just check out this.
And his accuracy is really good too. I love his accuracy.
Tight end Charlie Warner's motion helps push the leverage of the linebackers away from where the pass is going. With Micah Parsons on the edge likely to pass rush, and the 2 DBs on the same side for the 2 receivers, this means that either Leighton Vander Esch or Malik Hooker will need to cover McCaffrey's route coming out of the backfield. We see Vander Esch have to declare where he's going because he's already been pushed away from McCaffrey's side,
that a Texas route?
As the other backers vacate the middle of the field. Simultaneously, Brandon Ayuk and Ray McCloud run nice routes that cross each other to trick Ayuk's matchup. And then just check out when Purdy is throwing this. The ball is coming out right as Ayuk and McCaffrey are making their breaks in opposite directions. It's a super confident pass that gives his receiver room to catch the ball and avoid
right on the
a
money
big hit from the safety crashing down. Still, it can be easy to see this and write it off as his just being in one of the best situations in the league.
Which is true though, because you know what I'm saying, they got one of the best, you know what I'm saying, tight ends in the league, and George Kittle, one of the best wide receivers in the league, and Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, the best running back in the league with Christian McCaffrey, possibly the greatest left tackle of all time, and Trent Williams. But Purdy is still a good quarterback. I feel like he was doing this at Iowa State. He was really good at Iowa State. He wasn't as good as he is now, but he was still good enough to, you know what I'm saying, be a starter and win you games.
Really be doing this if he was on a more mediocre team? Is Brock Purdy really just a system quarterback? If there's any testament to how good Purdy's been in his first 2 years, it's that his being the last overall pick in the 2022 draft gets mentioned less and less when he's brought up. After his first start or two, I remember my dad texting me something along the lines of, "You seen this Brock guy? He's pretty good."
Ain't no
and I said,
way.
"Very clever, Dad."
That sounds
and
like a dad
believing
joke.
It was a fun story, but that it would all fall apart sooner or later. But then he kept winning and winning all the way to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, this is one of those stories I thought it was going to be like a Linsanity run, like how Josh Dobbs was really good for a stretch and then, you know what I'm saying, started to suck. I thought it was going to be one of those type of runs, but he's really proven everybody wrong, bro. Not everybody just yet, but
in this most
fans.
He proved to all of us, and especially the Eagles, that his rookie year was no fluke.
Yeah.
Through the first 3 quarters of the season, he was receiving legitimate MVP buzz and was a favorite.
Yeah, and those MVP votes went away once they ran into the buzzsaw called the Baltimore Ravens. Thank you very much.
After week 15. Everything was going great for him until a big flock of ravens took a shit on his head on Christmas Day.
Why did he phrase it like that?
Interceptions that night in what would be the worst.
What did he say?
He gifted Baltimore 4 interceptions.
No, he didn't. It was 3 actually. Sam Darnold threw the 4th one.
Would be the worst game of his career so far, as he watched Lamar Jackson go on to secure.
But we had the best defense in the league last year, bro.
Ask me, really, only one of those interceptions was totally his fault, and we'll look closer at it a little later.
I mean, Kyle Hamilton is just the best safety in the league, bro. He just baited him in. Boom. His range is just unlike any other safety in the league.
Just a system quarterback.
Him being 6'4" helps out a lot with that.
System quarterback, but a system quarterback nonetheless. You don't need to dig too deep to convince people he was in one of the best quarterback situations in the league. Running back Christian McCaffrey, fullback Kyle Juszczyk, tight end George Kittle, and left tackle Trent Williams all received All-Pro honors this past season. That's nearly an entire offense of All-Stars. And even the guys who weren't getting formally recognized were still producing at a high level. Whether it was,
but what I want to understand, what I want people to understand is, how do you expect teams to be good? How you expect quarterbacks to be good if you don't put good talent around them, though? Like that's exactly what I don't fucking understand. Why people keep calling him a system QB. Like, what do you want him to do? What do you want him to do? Not throw to his superstar players, bro? Like, come on now.
Who had his second 1,000-yard receiving season in a row, or Debo Samuel, whose dynamism.
And then you add Ricky Pearsall to the mix.
In fact, there was a bit of a Debo narrative that was going around later in the year, where some wondered if he was really the spoon that stirred the drink. Purdy and the 49ers were 0-3 when Samuel played 15% or less of the offensive snaps last year, and 12-1 with him. And if you wanted to discount Purdy in a more nuanced but related way, you could point to how great he was off play action last year. PFF graded him as the 3rd best quarterback in the league off this play type, and his completion.
I mean, bro, you know the reason why play action, right? Because of, guess who? CMC. They have the best running back in the league. That's exactly why play action works so well with them, bro. Because of how dominant their run game is.
Good for the 2nd highest completion rate difference in the league.
If they didn't have that, would the play action game work?
That a good chunk
Probably
of his numbers
not.
Were bolstered by San Fran's top 5 running game. Check out this play against the Buccaneers in Week 11, where we can see how San Francisco leverages their good running game for easy passes and tons of yak. Head coach Kyle Shanahan is perhaps most known for his zone blocking run scheme. Simply put, zone blocking refers to the linemen blocking defenders who come into their assigned areas, as opposed to having blocking matchups like in a power scheme. One of the key indicators of a zone block is when all of the linemen take a step in the same direction in unison as they move to plug up their areas.
Okay.
We see that here. That first step, along with Purdy turning his back and the field position, all help pull the Bucs defenders towards the line while Kittle sneaks out the side door. He finds wide open space, and Purdy can make this easy dump off and pick up 20 passing yards. And while I do think his numbers get a little inflated by these types of plays, it's also really difficult to win as consistently as he and the 49ers have. Getting to an NFC championship or Super Bowl is tough no matter who you are and what the team looks like. Former Niners receiver Emmanuel Sanders recently shared a conversation he had with Debo on why people are sleeping on Purdy as a top-level quarterback. Debo Samuel said, "Man, you should see him in the huddle. He comes in the huddle, he plays with a certain confidence, he comes in, he believes, he makes other guys believe." Unfortunately, there is no metric for belief, but let's take a closer look at what Purdy does that might make his team believe in him, as well as parts of his game that prevent him from being in that top echelon of quarterbacks right now.
Okay.
One thing you can't escape in Purdy's tape is just how much he loves throwing the ball to the middle part of the field. If I was his wife, I'd be a little jealous. Over 40% of his passes came in the short and intermediate middle parts of the field, and on a good majority of these throws, Purdy displays an extremely high level of anticipation and rhythm. It's probably the most special thing about him. Here's an example against Tampa Bay that looks somewhat similar to the play against Dallas I showed earlier. Purdy will get this one to Samuel, who has linebacker Devin White matched up on him.
Yeah, that's a mismatch.
With Samuel's quickness, everyone in the stadium knows this is going to be
a tough
cover
have
for
a
the
linebacker on a
White
wide receiver.
tries to keep with Samuel and uses his body to try and leverage Samuel out of the middle of the field, but one quick move gets him cutting across the linebacker's face.
Damn.
Again, Purdy throws this early, right as Samuel is making his move, giving his receiver space to catch the ball and come down with it to avoid the defenders pursuing him in the middle of the field. You see these throws from him constantly. It got to the point where I almost got bored watching his film because over and over again, he'd make these anticipatory passes to the middle for 10 to 20 yards. But I think some of his reliance on these passes can be taken advantage of by talented and savvy defenses. He can be a bit robotic in his throws and has yet to really learn how to use his eyes to manipulate defenses. Knowing where he typically wants to go with the ball, DBs can watch his eyes and make breaks on passes for turnover opportunities.
That's exactly what happened with Kyle Hamilton.
Referenced against the Ravens, which came on SF's first drive of the game. The Ravens will play quarters coverage, meaning their 4 DBs will be responsible for a quarter of the field, with 3 intermediate defenders to protect the middle. Purdy wants to get this ball to Samuel, who is running a rounded post into the middle of the end zone. He takes the snap and gives a glance to the right side of the field and sees safety Kyle Hamilton take a step that way.
But he's watching him the whole time.
Because the cornerback starts to take the zig route from Juszczyk, I think Purdy is trusting that Hamilton will be forced to move down and over to defend Kittle's out route.
This is what makes Kyle Hamilton so elite,
pass
bro.
off the receivers in their zones, and because Kittle's route is shallow, Hamilton suddenly becomes unconcerned with it. Check out the moment he realizes this and then gets his eyes on Purdy. He sees Purdy take his hand off the ball, so he locates the receiver coming towards where he's looking and jumps in front of it for the clean pick.
Took that shit
Every so
right
often,
away,
you
gang.
catch Purdy forcing passes to where they seem to be schemed to go without necessarily considering what the defense was doing. Right now, it feels like he's using his eyes to identify stuff for himself rather than also as a tool to keep passing lanes open. I think this will be the next big step he'll need to take in his development to get into that next tier of quarterback. The last point I wanted to make on Purdy was that I think he's got a solid pocket presence. He can navigate traffic nicely to get throws off, like he does here in the Super Bowl to get a deep ball off to Debo. While it falls incomplete, I thought it was a great example of how he can make subtle movements to give himself time for options downfield to open up. Along with that, he also seems to have a good sense of when to take off and scramble for a couple yards. It's a solid combo to have a guy who can push the ball downfield with anticipation, as well as pick up a few yards with his legs when things aren't there.
That's good for a young quarterback.
I was a little concerned with how he seemed to step away from pressure as he passed when it engulfed him. I thought I'd see more times where it affected his accuracy, and it might have just been the games I watched, but I rarely saw it leading to a severely off-target pass. Personally, I would like to see him take this tendency out of his game to feel even better about his consistency as a passer, but I also get that he's protecting himself and making it work. Brock Purdy is really good. He can make the throws, stay calm in the pocket, and has been praised throughout his 2 years for his leadership and ability to make guys believe. But I don't think it's unfair to wonder how good he might be on another team with lesser players and worse coaching. He isn't using his eyes at a high level, and
that's one thing I understand why people are calling him a system QB, you know, because some quarterbacks start in NFL with horrible, you know what I'm saying, rosters and shit like that with no good wide receivers like Lamar, Josh Allen, who else? Joe Burrow at first, you know what I'm saying? But then, you know what I'm saying, as time went on, they started to get better weapons and start to really become elite caliber QBs. Brock Purdy came into the league with already elite weapons, you know what I'm saying? Same goes for Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud. You know what I'm saying? And CJ doesn't have the elite weapons that you know what I'm saying, that the Niners had his rookie year and shit like that. But, you know what I'm saying, they still have really good weapons for him to, you know what I'm saying, throw to. So we don't know how good Brock Purdy will truly be if he wasn't on the Niners and didn't have Kittle and Debo and Ayuk and CMC and Trent Williams on the same offense. So we may never know that, you know what I'm saying, because if he continues to play good, they're gonna re-sign him to a massive contract for like 5 year worth, like what, $40-something million, shit like that. But hey man,
right there. And while every quarterback gets some help from the run game and play action, I do think some of those MVP caliber numbers were slightly inflated by San Francisco's talent and scheme. Still, system quarterback feels like a dig to him just for the connotation it brings. I don't know if this is any better, but I at least feel better saying that Purdy can give a team a very high floor, but that he might not raise that team's ceiling on his own. Had he been in Desmond Ritter's shoes in Atlanta last year, I think that team would have won the NFC South, but had he been in Carolina, I think the Panthers still come in last place. But I also don't think Purdy is a finished product. He'll turn 25 in his third NFL season this year, and it's only the second one where he'll be a full-time starter throughout the entire process. So, yeah, Purdy might technically be propped up by the Niners system, and that ranking of 13th may be closer to the truth than a ranking of, say, 5th. But that's only for the right now. Keep an eye on Purdy this next season. He may just surprise you with how good he can get.
Oh, for real, bro. Hey, shout out to this dude. This dude's got great content as well. I hope you guys enjoyed though. I want to know what you guys think. Do y'all think that Brock Purdy's a system QB? For me, like, after, you know what I'm saying, listening to all the arguments and shit like that, I really don't know, bro. I don't think he is a system QB. I really think he is good. But the thing is, we will never know how good he would be without good weapons. You know what I'm saying? Unless, you know, cap issues start to beat up on the 49ers, which I highly doubt. But hey, it's only time will tell. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. You guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on post notification, notify whenever I drop another banger video. We're on the road to 300 subs, and we get there for more banger NFL content like this. So without further ado, I'm out. Gang.